This is News in Minutes. Hello and welcome. First is the highlights. A number of protesters stormed the appeal court in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, on Monday to express their concern about the outcome of the election result. Southern African countries on Monday agreed to deploy forces to help quell violence in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. At least 481 civilians have been killed since fighting began last month in Sudan, and more than 2,560 wounded. A journalist in the troubled northwest region of Cameroon was shot dead late on Sunday. A number of protesters stormed the appeal court in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, on Monday to express their concern about the outcome of the election result, but were restrained from gaining entrance to the court by security operatives. As the country grapples with widespread insecurity, economic woes, and growing poverty, many Nigerians had hoped the presidential ballot would bring about change, but many were disappointed by the way the election was conducted. On Monday, a panel of 5 Nigerian judges sat for a pre-hearing session in the trial involving opposition leaders contesting the February election won by the ruling party. Since Nigeria returned to democracy in 1999 after 3 decades of military rule, elections have always ended up in court, though no challenge has ever overturned results. A special summit of the 16-block Southern African Development Community, which includes South Africa, Angola, and Tanzania, backed the deployment to restore peace and security in eastern DRC, SADC said in a statement from the Namibian capital Windhoek. The meeting did not give the numbers of troops to be deployed nor a timeline for the deployment. The decision was reached at talks attended by several heads of states, including DRC's Felix Tshisekedi, his South African counterpart Cyril Ramaphosa, Tanzania's Samia Suluhu Hassan, and ministers from the regional group. At least 481 civilians have been killed since fighting began last month in Sudan, and more than 2,560 wounded. The figure given by the Sudanese Doctors Union is part of the wider death toll of at least 700 people killed since April 15. Observers note that even as more than 100,000 people have fled Sudan so far, it's civilians trapped by the fighting who continue to suffer, with many queuing for what little bread is available. Those who've made it out are still in need of care. At the Sudanese border with Chad, hundreds of refugees are also queuing. UNHCR is identifying sites far from here, at least 50 kilometers from here, to relocate people from the border so that the risk of insecurity, at least, is resolved, but also provide assistance to them, says Bryce Degla, UNHCR Senior Emergency Coordinator in Chad. A journalist in the troubled northwest region of Cameroon was shot dead late on Sunday. According to a statement released by the local journalists' union, the victim was the West and Northwest Region Bureau Chief for weekly newspaper The Advocate. Anya Ndinso was in a pub in Bamenda's Ntarakan neighborhood when unidentified assailants opened fire on him. Earlier this year, a radio presenter and a journalist were killed in 2 separate attacks in or near the capital Yaoundé, prompting the United Nations to express concern about the media environment in Cameroon. The journalist's death comes amid a conflict between Cameroonian authorities and some separatist factions in English-speaking regions that turned violent in 2017.